Hello and welcome to the Success Podcast, where every week I will bring you a deep, rich and clear understanding of why you are where you are now and how to bridge the gap to where you want to be. My name is Amila Kay and the podcast starts now. So this is an extension of podcast number 6. If you haven't already, click subscribe now so you never miss another episode. And I will be continuing to talk about our everyday typical problems and how to overcome them. I had to cut the podcast short on the previous one because my battery was running out and the whole thing just would have shut down. I probably would have lost everything. So welcome back and thank you for your patience. And I also absolutely had to go find out how many times Thomas Edison had quote unquote failed at producing the light bulb, and it was 1,000 times. Have you ever tried to do something 1,000 times and not succeeded? I certainly haven't. I mean, I'm in the process of continuously trying. I don't know what number I'm at, but he tried 1,000 different ways to make the light bulb until he succeeded. And what was said is, that he had failed 1,000 times making the light bulb. And he said, no, it was a 1,000 step process to creating the light bulb. I think that's so amazing. If we can take that type of thinking and that perspective into the goals that we're creating, the things that we're wanting to achieve, and think, I haven't failed. I've only worked out X amount of times of how not to do the thing. That's remarkable. There is so much inspiration in that to keep going. So last we spoke about careers, and coming up now is financial worries. And so, I mean, even thinking about myself, I've personally had a lot of wealth at times, and I've been very poor at times. And I'm talking only about money. I'm not talking about other areas of wealth and abundance. I'm talking specifically about money right now. Times when I've had an abundance of money and other times when I haven't had an abundance of money. And I can say that in all the times that I haven't had a lot of financial wealth or an abundance of wealth, money, there were so many great lessons in there for me. And those could have been to reflect on how much I already have and how much I can be grateful for and how little I need to feel happy and safe and content and joyful. How little we actually need. And I realized also times when I had a lot of financial abundance that I sometimes became quite reckless with it and didn't really appreciate the wealth that I had. And so in the ebb and flow of financial wealth and having or not having it, there was a lot of really important lessons that I'd learned in those times and through the differences in those times. And each time I would go from not having a lot of financial wealth to times when I did have a lot of financial wealth, I would then also bring the new and transformed mental aspect, but also emotional and spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect back with me when I did have financial wealth. And what I mean by that is when I have it, I became more conscious of what I wanted to do with that money and the decisions I made with that money. And that can be things like, how much of this do I want to invest into my savings? And how much of this do I want to invest into paying off debt? And how much of this do I want to invest into helping other people that need financial support? And so each time I notice, if I think about even the last 12 months, how much I have matured and grown with my finances, I think it's really significant. And I think it's really important to reflect on how much we've grown, because it's when we reflect that we can acknowledge what we're doing really well and also acknowledge in what areas we still need to grow. And I think that's really, really important when it comes to self-development. So when you are in times of having financial troubles, face your worst fear and look at it and say to yourself, what is the worst possible thing that can happen right now? And face that. And then think about, what is the greatest thing I can learn from this? And write that down. What is the lesson in this for me? What can you change about your relationship with money? What can you start doing differently? What new beliefs must you adopt around wealth and money so that you can have a healthier relationship with it? And I think that's really, really important. Like, how can we change our perspective of money in order to overcome our financial worries? And lack of money can be a really great gift if you choose to find the gift in it. How can you become more resourceful? How can you become more creative? How can you become more appreciative, more grateful for what you have? How can you become more mature with what money you save and how you spend money? I think there are great gifts that can be found in a lack of financial abundance and how you can grow as a human being. So I think that's really, really important to take away from that. Choose to see your financial problem as a gift and how you can move forward as a wiser person. Another problem that we have is our health. Health is becoming a really serious and big problem in our everyday life. And a lot of us are feeling tired, we're feeling sick, we get sick too often, we get a lot of headaches, we complain of a lot of aches and pains, and we'll all experience health challenges at some point in our life. What kind of health challenges we experience, I think, generally speaking, will come down to what we eat, how we move, and how much water we drink, and the type of things that we're feeding our mind. So that means the friends that we have, the things that we watch, the things that we listen to, the people that we talk to, our own beliefs and our own thinking. All of these things will determine our health well-being, or the state of our health. And so I think that it's really important for us, especially the younger generation now, that is so, and not even necessarily the younger generation, all people living now, we're so driven by instant gratification and having that quick fix. Tap and I've got my food, tap, someone can pick me up. I can do anything from my phone. Anything that I want can be done from my phone and I can get it instantly. And I think the key here is taking ownership for your life and the results you're getting right now. It is nobody else's fault for what kind of well-being you're experiencing right now. Because if whatever you're doing right now, if it's giving you the results that you're getting, you need to take ownership for that, and you need to say, enough is enough. Is enough enough for you? Because if it is, I guarantee you that after this podcast is done, you will go and you will make some serious and permanent changes in your life because you've decided that enough is enough. Because you finally associated enough pain with your current habits, your current lifestyle, and the current decisions that you are making. But you will not make that change until enough is enough. And until you have associated enough pain with what you're doing right now. You'll just keep going the way that you're going, and you'll keep whinging about what you whinge about, and you'll keep complaining about what you complain about until enough is enough. And if you are ready, take ownership right now. Own the results that you have in your life and do what is within your control right now. Change your diet. Start exercising. Drink water instead of anything else. Move every single day. Break a sweat. Whatever you choose to do, you have to take ownership for your health and quit being ignorant about it. As harsh as that sounds, that is the ultimate full stop. Will you finally take accountability for your health and well-being? And if you are, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that it takes full ownership and being disciplined and attaching enough pleasure with what you're doing and enough pain with not doing it. That's why you do what you do. Next thing that we worry about is relationships that end. You know, we break up with people, relationship starts, they come and they go. And I'm pretty sure in his article, he said, Tim said, I think there's less than 1% of people who meet the one, quote unquote, the one, and live happily ever after, and they never experience a breakup. But even then, at some point, one of those people are going to die and the breakup will happen. And so for the rest of us who aren't that 1%, and we have to keep going into new relationships and growing through them and having breakups and, you know, all the trials that come with that romance or that finding of romance, or the people who are in toxic relationships for way too long because they just can't see themselves getting out, or they're too afraid to make that decision, or they somehow think that they don't deserve better than what they're getting right now. And all of that stuff is a whole nother ball game. That's a whole other ball game that isn't a part of what I'm talking about right now. And if you want me to talk about that, then send me a private DM and I will talk about it. Or you can send me a private DM and we can do a one-on-one coaching session. But people who stay in toxic relationships for too long, we've all probably been cheated on at least once, whether we know about it or we don't. We've all had our hearts broken and we've all had someone not love us anymore and move on. And these are the realities of being a human being and wanting to find love and connection with others and wanting to reproduce and wanting to connect. I think that the solution is finding that through all of these relationships, what is one thing that you've learned? What have you learned that is really important for you? And also, what have you learned is definitely not something that you'll ever put up with? It's all a journey of learning what it is that we truly want out of a relationship, and also the bravery and the courage that it takes to say, you're not the person. And I respect you and I respect myself enough to say it. Because if two people stay together and they know that they aren't meant for each other, there is no respect in that. There is no love in that. That isn't love. That is fear. That is ultimate fear to not leave that relationship. And it will become toxic and it will become resentful. And know that all breakups suck. They're never great. But as you go through them and as your maturity increases, you can see the beauty that was within them, and you can see the beauty in what you learnt from that person and what you created together. And you walk away from that knowing more precisely what it is you want and what it is you don't want, making it then easier for you to make a better decision next time around. It's okay to be heartbroken. Don't stay there. It's okay to be sad, but you don't need to live there. You can experience it and you can then get up, wipe your tears and move on. Another one is making really big mistakes. So making a fool of yourself. And I think this one's really important because as human beings, we are designed to make errors. We're designed to fail. We're designed to mess it up and screw it up so many times until we can finally get it right. And there's going to be things that you say that you cringe at. There's going to be conversations that you had that you wish you could just turn back time and say them differently. And, you know, there's going to be things that you've done that are really embarrassing as well. I remember I was a school captain in year 12 in my completing year for high school. And public speaking was a really big part of that. And even though I did, I participated in a lot of inter-school debates and I wasn't really afraid to use my voice. I do remember though that if I was to stand in front of a really large audience and speak, I would feel like I'm dying. The amount of adrenaline running through my body, I didn't think that I could stand there and actually pull through and talk. And so inside it'll be complete chaos and completely messing up and making mistakes and then thinking, oh my God, my face has gone really red and what are they thinking and should I just stop now? And what it takes is when we make mistakes, it's always to get up and say, I had the courage to try and I had the courage to do it no matter how much fear I actually felt in that moment, and give yourself a pat on the back for that and just keep trying, because it's with practice and persistence that we actually become the master of our craft, that we become better at what we do. So the key is never, ever, ever to give up just because you made a mistake or you made a fool of yourself or you didn't get it quite right. Keep getting up. It's like when you see a child learning how to walk for the first time and they keep falling, they fall down hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But you're never going to tell that child, I think you should just give up trying to walk because clearly this isn't for you and you've just fallen so many times. You would never say that to a child because you know that through the falling, the constant falling and getting back up, that is how they learn to walk. So why are you and I any different? Why can't we keep falling until we learn how to walk? There's no reason why we can't. In fact, this is how you succeed. You fall and you keep on getting up. So no matter how many times you think you've messed it up, just think of that child that's fallen down hundreds of times before they learn how to walk and just get up and try again. Making a mess of yourself is a huge sign of courage. And courage is what it takes to be a leader. Courage, it's what it takes to be a success. So find your courage and don't be afraid of making a fool of yourself. It's okay to fall down. What's another one? I'm just thinking, okay, well, this is a really big one actually. Feeling like your life has no meaning. I have probably had 2 or 3 times in my life. I'm almost 32. At the end of this year, I'll be 32 at the end of 2019. And I can think of, 2 or 3 times in my life where I've honestly felt like I have no meaning. I don't know what the meaning of my life is. And that's a really, really shitty place to be. That's a very, very dark place to be. And these are moments where nothing makes sense for you anymore. You don't know why you're here. Everything is meaningless. You have no purpose for what you do. There's no purpose behind anything that you do. And I think that the key is to find the meaning for your life. And if that has to change every year, and if that has to change every 3 years, then so be it. But find meaning in what you do. Find meaning in the mundane things that we have to do. The meaning that you had for your life, say 10 years ago, can be a very different meaning for your life right now. And I think that the quickest way for us to cave in and give up on life and be open to things like depression and, extremely bad habits, reckless habits, self-sabotaging habits, is believing that our life has no meaning. And so in podcast number 5, where I take you through values elicitation, this is why it is so important to do that exercise and find the purpose in your life. understand your values, understand your goals and why they matter to you, so that you always have meaning in your life, so that all your mundane, boring things that you do every day have meaning, they have purpose, because they're helping you with your larger intent. I think that's really, really important. And if you can't even get there, then you have to do something to break routine. You have to do something that you would normally never do. You have to experiment. Do not focus on yourself. Whatever you do, do not focus on yourself. This is the way to absolutely destroy yourself and only give you more suffering. In fact, a lot of suffering comes from only thinking about ourselves. And so I think the best thing to do if you're in that situation is go and help someone who is in a far worse situation than you are. Go and visit a country where there's people who don't have food to eat. Or if you live in a country where you know you can find people like that. Watch a documentary about someone who has really suffered in a great way that you can't even fathom. Because this will help you see that there is so many worse things happening in the world. And it will help you get a fresh perspective on your problems and your challenges. And I encourage you deeply, if you're in that situation, to go and volunteer your time and help someone who's worse off than you. Someone who's really suffering with other things that you can't comprehend. Because in doing that, you will have a lot of appreciation for your own life and your own challenges. You will get a new perspective on how to overcome your problems. And you will definitely get a focus, some kind of focus will be born and inspired from this. If you ever have feelings like you just can't go on anymore, we've all had those days. You know, those really dark spots where the failures in our life really hurt us. And some of those failures can't be solved through this podcast and just listening to this podcast. But know that you can approach me and you can email me or send me a DM and let me know that you need a coach or a mentor to help you through this. And I'd be more than happy to do that with you if we are a right fit. But there is always a way. It might be a time for you to seek real help and talk to someone. And if it's an extreme case, call Lifeline. There is always a way to overcome our problems and come out on the other side, no matter how dark and miserable it might seem. So put your ego aside and find someone who can help you. And now another one that I can talk to you about is fear. This is a really big one. So there are so many fears in our life. And I think that for me, fear is ultimately our ego wanting to keep us safe. Because the ego hates change. The ego hates progress. The ego just wants to keep you safe and in a bubble. And so we can experience a lot of fear if we don't step out of our comfort zones and do different things and push ourselves and say to yourself, I know I'm scared. I'm really scared and I'm really nervous, but this matters to me and I'm going to do it anyway. And proceed with that. Fear is just a concept in your mind. Nothing is really scary or not scary. Because something that you're afraid of, someone else is doing with absolutely no fear at all. So it has to be something that we create in our mind. And it must be that you've given it some meaning, which makes it something that you should fear. So look at the meaning you've given to the things that you fear and ask yourself, what is another thing that I can choose to think about this thing that I fear? And then go forward with that. What's another way of looking at this? What would someone who's not afraid say or think or believe about this? And embrace that other perspective. because everything is a choice. Every thought we have, every belief we have, every perspective we have is just simply a choice. We've chosen to believe that that's the answer, that is the ultimate meaning. And if that's not working for you, if that meaning is not working for you and it's not bringing you joy and happiness and fulfillment, and you want to change that, then you have to start asking yourself some really powerful questions. Questions like, what would somebody who's not afraid of this have to think? What's another way that I can see this situation? I think that the best way to overcome fear is to stand it face on, front on, and just push through it. Because what you'll learn is that it was all made up, that none of your fear was substantiated, and that it was all in your head. And when you're in that momentum, and that's what you're riding on, that energy, that is the best time to journal, record yourself, write down what it is that you learned. What were you afraid of? How scary did it seem to you? How did you tackle it? What did you learn? And what will you do different moving forward? And then go on, take on the next fear. And then every time you're confronted with a new fear, listen to that, read that, remind yourself of that. And, I'm thinking, I think that's it for now. If I trust and I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. I'm sorry I just went quiet. I was thinking in my head, was there anything else that I wanted to say? I think I'm done for now. I'm going to wrap this up and go spend time with my daughter. She's just come home. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope that you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, please share, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you loved. Let me know what you want more of. Let me know what you want less of. I'd really love to engage with you because my mission and my vision is to help as many people as possible just like you. And I'm helping myself during this process. I'm helping myself during this journey to find and understand yourself and understand other people better and to have the tools to create the life that you desire. And as always, I'll leave you by saying thank you. Always choose gratitude. And I appreciate all of you. And I'll speak to you all really soon. Thank you and bye for now.